The Odd Pod.
Odd Pod. Hello and welcome once again to the Odd Pod, and today we take a delve back into the millions of miles of open reel tape that we have in our archive department and bring you another edition of Kelly's Eye, presented by the late great David Collister and historian Peter Kelly. This programme was first broadcast in October of 1989, and we can join them now on the quayside in Douglas.
Peter, what's Kelly's Eye looking at today?
Well, today, David, Kelly's Eye is looking at a half-timbered gable.
On a hostelry in Douglas.
Yes, well, I think you've given it away. This black and white building sitting on North Quay in Douglas is, of course, the British Hotel, although by no means the first British hotel to sit on the North Quay in Douglas.
Now, tell me about it. What do we know of the British, or the building itself, really?
Well, its predecessor was actually a little further along the quayside, in fact, where the market hall is next door to it. And what you had in the early 1890s, well, 94, 95, 96, a site clearance area of 6 acres of buildings in Douglas, from Victoria Street and Ridgeway Street across the quayside, with the purpose of rebuilding. Hence we ended up with King Street and James Street, Ridgeway Street, and of course the new buildings on the quayside. And so what happened was, when they demolished one building, they sold a site further along. Hence St Matthew's Church has also moved from one point to 100 yards further along.
Now, it's half timbered, and you do see quite a lot of these in England as well, don't you, of this type. Is there a specific architectural style here? Well,
strangely enough, when it was subject to an open competition for architects to submit plans to Wolf's Brewery, who owned the hotel, and it was described in the local press at the time, when it was announced that this one had won, that it was designed in the modern antique style. And modern antique, of course, was what was happening in Chester, mainly due to the work of John Douglas, the architect, where the original medieval buildings, Tudor buildings, were being copied. But copied wrongly, as with this one, because, of course, the originals were never black and white, but bare timber and white.
Now, the bare timber, in fact, you could strip that paint, I suppose, and get down to the bare timber, even on this one, could you?
Yeah, well, what you've got here is not a half-timbered building. The timber's been applied to the front and plastered in between, but you'll notice on the side gable going on the lane up between the market hall that, in fact, a little bit of kidology has been done there of recent.
It's simply a painted wall, isn't it?
It's a painted wall, right, where they've re-rendered.
Are these bow windows, or what type of windows are they?
No, it's a projecting bay window, or you could loosely describe them as oriel bays.
Yeah.
The building was designed by Armitage Rigby, and this was in fact his comeback. He'd retired from architecture due to ill health, and then he just decided he'd enter the competition. He did, and won it. And he then went off to Little Switzerland and designed most of the houses up there, and it was him, not Bailey Scott, which most people associate Little Switzerland with.
And a fascia worth keeping here on the quay?
Oh, indeed, no question about it. And you may have noticed at the far end of the quay, in a recent development, the half timber has been copied.
The Odd Pod.
Odd Pod.